myself to see it. Yeah.
Greetings.
Hi, Babasi.
How are you?
I'm very well, dear. But I'm on my old laptop, which isn't a very good picture, but I don't suppose that really matters. Because when I've been trying to get on my MacBook, I'm getting a big red page that said this site may be harmful.
Did you look, go to WhatsApp? Mike put up a notice for how to,
Right.
yeah, go to
Yeah,
WhatsApp. Mike
yeah.
put up a notice. I just zoomed into it.
Okay.
So you may have to relog in.
I mean, I suppose I could just stay on here, but it's just the picture's not so good. No.
Mike, let me see what is under. Oh,
I
wait a
don't
minute.
have the message from Mike in the or from.
Let me see if I can pull it up, even though I'm logged in now.
Okay.
Hold on. So under World Storytelling Festival, Mike Wood put up, now I'm getting echo, which means someone else is logged in.
It's me, obviously.
Let me see if I can.
I've only logged in once.
Okay, shall we start? Shall we start?
So,
Omar, you're the host, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
So I just put this in the chat. I don't know if you can see it, but that's what I got from Mike, and that's how I logged in.
Yeah.
okay. Right.
So if you can copy that and try to log in through there.
Right. Can you send it to me, Babasi?
Send it to where?
Rona Barbour 41 at iCloud.com.
Wait a minute. I got to write that down because I
If you
can't. Wait a
can.
minute.
I've just sent it to your WhatsApp.
There's nothing come up on my WhatsApp.
Oh, okay. I've got Rona Leventhal Storyteller.
No, I'm not Rona Leventhal. There's only one Rona.
Oh, sorry.
I'm only joking. I know Rona, yeah, very well. I'm Rona Barbour.
Oh, sorry.
She's got a link.
Right.
It's all right, don't worry, Lucy.
Oh, well, she'll wonder what I'm doing.
Lucy, can you send it to her email?
I can try. Let me just see if I've got. No, I haven't got another one. Yeah, I think I can. Can you tell me what your
My email address, Lucy, it's RONA.
composed RONA. Yep.
BAR
Mm-hmm.
BOUR, Rona Barbour.
Yeah.
41
41
at iCloud.com.
iCloud.com.
I've had a message from you, Lucy. I've not had a chance to answer it yet. I'm so excited. I've got everything all happening at
Oh,
once.
don't worry. Yeah, just whenever you have a chance.
Oh, yeah, Lucy, I did get your message. I'll respond to that very soon.
I've just sent you this without a subject, just to be quick.
Yeah.
Email from. Are you sure you want to?
Oh, I've got something here now that's come through from Mike on iCloud.
Omar, are you the host this evening?
Yes, I am. Yes,
Would
sir.
you make me co-host, please?
So shall we start?
I think I've managed to get in with this, Lucy. Thank you.
Okay, great.
I'll just wait to make sure it actually starts.
Omar, I will give it a couple minutes,
Yeah, I'll switch this one off
and
now.
then you just be loud and clear and say, hi, you're starting it. Okay.
Hi, and Omar,
We gotta
can you
wait for
make
Rona to come
Babasi-
back.
Recording in progress.
That's
Oh.
good. Right, that's great.
Can you make Babasi a co-host?
He did
Omar?
that.
Oh, you did. Okay, great.
Yes.
Hello,
Hey, Lucy,
Omar, by
long
the
time
way.
no-
Hello.
Long time no
Hello,
talk to
hello,
you.
Marie.
Hi.
Hello, hi.
Hi
How
there.
are you?
I'm good, thanks. I thought you'd be wearing one of the cloaks I sent over.
Uh,
Well, that looks like a very smart jacket anyway.
yeah, thank you so much.
Lucy, I'm loving your picture.
I can't see my picture.
No, I'm being a bit cheeky. You don't have a picture up.
No.
Okay, Rona is back in, I think. But you're muted, Rona.
My picture a wee bit better. All you can see is my hair at the front. Right,
Hey,
so
Rona, don't worry about the hair.
okay.
You look
So
lovely.
shall we start, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
So, Bismillah, والصلاة عليك يا رسول الله. Ladies and gentlemen, and all assembled company, it's Friday, and welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe. It's Friday, and it's time for stories. And today, please welcome and give a big hand to Rona, the great storyteller from Scotland. Rona Barbour, coming from a very long line of celebrated storytellers. She has been writing and telling stories since early childhood. She has been described as the godmother of the storytelling. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome and give a big hand to the Rona Barbour.
Thank you, Omar. That was very nice. So, yes, Christmas stories I wanted to tell. Now, there's a better than good chance, Jenny, that you might have heard this story before, but I'm sure you wouldn't mind hearing it again. I would love to tell you about my childhood and Christmas times that I had in my childhood, because I had quite a different childhood, you would have to say, quite unusual, because both of my parents were blind. And people used to think, oh dear, that's such a shame. But it wasn't anything like that at all. In actual fact, I think I had quite an advantage over other children because I learned skills that they would never have learned because their parents were sighted. For example, my mother could cook and she never burned anything because she didn't have to see the food. She could hear it. And this was a real mystery to me when I was a child, how my mother knew whenever that meat was ready. We sighted people tend to judge things with our eyes, and our eyes quite often deceive us. You can look at a piece of meat and it can look as if it's cooked because it's the right colour. Then you cut into it and it's raw inside. Not nice. Whereas when my mother cooked the meat, she would listen. She would hear the first sound that she was listening for, which was hissing. Tell me when it's hissing, she would say to me. Hissing, Mummy, what does hissing sound like? And she would go, sss. So I would listen. And then I would hear that noise and I would say, it's hissing, Mummy. She'd say, that's the cooking started. That's starting from the inside. And that's the moisture is coming through. And then it would hum. And it actually made a noise like it was humming, but it's not loud. So unless you're listening for it, you probably wouldn't even notice. But that's the beauty of being able to actually listen to this food cooking. And then finally she would say, is it singing yet? And I would say, singing, Mummy, are you mad? It won't sing. But it actually made a noise like as if it was like the faintest lullaby you could imagine. And that piece of meat would be brought out of the oven and it would be cut open and it would be cooked to perfection all the way through. My daddy didn't like the meat to be overdone, so it had to be just right. So she took it out of the oven right at that moment. So that's just one example of the things, the kind of childhood that we had because our parents were blind. We learned that kind of thing. But the thing that we learned most was language, because everything had to be by description. And I learned to read. I could read the newspaper to my dad when I was only 4 to tell him about the football the day before. Read it on the back of the pinks. Our football papers came in the pink colour. And that was my early stages of learning to read. But when I was around that age, 4 or 5, it was Christmas Eve. My little brother hadn't been born yet, so I was the baby of the family. And there was no Christmas tree. And it was Christmas Eve. And I mean, I couldn't get over this. Mummy, where's the Christmas tree? Mummy, it's Christmas Eve. I know, sweetheart, but don't worry, that's Daddy's department. But Mummy, and I could tell the time as well. And it was dark outside because in Scotland it gets darker much earlier. Mummy, it's getting dark outside and Santa won't know where to come because we've not got a tree and he won't see our lights. Oh, don't worry, sweetheart, I'm sure the tree will come. Well, I was having none of this. I went and got the mop bucket and I took out the mop and I put it in the kitchen somewhere. And then I got the brush and I turned it upside down and put it in the tub, tub for the mop. And then I put stones round it. I went outside and got some big stones. And the brush was standing there, quite grand. And I went and got my mother's colander, the thing you would rinse the vegetables in, and I stuck it on top of the brush head. I think it looked quite grand, I have to say. That was my star, the star of my Christmas tree. And then I began to hang all these things around it. I tied 2 coat hangers on and hung things, anything at all. We did have some nice decorations, but hanging from these coat hangers, they just looked ridiculous. And I found some tinsel and I wrapped that round the pole of the brush. I thought it looked quite magnificent. My oldest sister was a young school teacher at the time, and she was first to come home from work because she finished work quite early. And she came in and she saw this Christmas tree. What is that? I said, it's my Christmas tree. Mammy, there's no way this can stay. Terry's coming for tea. Terry was her intended, whom she later married. Wonderful man. They had a wonderful, wonderful marriage for 30 odd years. Both of them have since passed, sadly. Mammy, that tree can't stay there. Tree? Why am I calling it a tree? Mum, it's absolutely scandalous. She's got the brush here and things all hanging from it. It's such an embarrassment. I can't have Terry come in and see that. And my mummy said, well, if the wee one likes it, just let it stay for now. I was the wee one. The next person to come home was Jim, my oldest brother. Him and Mary never saw eye to eye about anything. And he knew that she wouldn't want to see this. So she immediately, he took sides and said, I think that tree's just perfect. My little sister made it. What are you grumbling about? Are you joking? Do you think I'm going to let that sit there? Well, oh, goodness me. That's my daughter ringing me. Can you just excuse me for 1 minute? I am so sorry. I'm trying
No
to...
apologies, no worries. Family is family.
The only time my family phone me is at inconvenient moments, Babasi. Happens every time. Every time. I'll phone her back in a minute. I'm sorry about that. So
No,
anyway,
it just leaves us wondering what's going to happen next. So, as we say, with bated breath.
I know Jim took her side, took my side rather, and said, the tree's fine. It's a bit of decoration for the wee one. Just leave it. And as they came home, different members of my family, Lizzie, who was the one next to me, she was 2 years older than me. So one of my older sisters had brought her home from school. And Lizzie was delighted with the tree, which was quite unusual because she never agreed with anything that I did. But this was better than no tree at all. And the hum went on for ages, Mary complaining, Terry's going to be here in half an hour. I can't have this. and everybody else in unison saying, "Oh, yes, you can." You know, she was furious. "It's got to go, Mammy, it's got to go. If you could see this." Well, that was the worst thing she could have said, because my mother's retort was, "If I could see that, if only I could see that." Well, that was it. Mary shut up. She never said another word. 5 minutes later, I heard, "Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose." Not just one voice, dozens of voices, dozens of children's voices. And I ran to the window. I couldn't believe my eyes. My father was walking up the street and he had a Christmas tree over his shoulder. And it was all decorated, and he had a box under his arm. There was even lights on this tree. Of course, they weren't lit, but you could see all these little Santas and snowmen all the way around. I ran down the stairs as fast as I could, and I launched myself at my daddy, throwing my arms round his legs. I nearly toppled him over. "Daddy, you got a tree, Daddy, that's wonderful." Lizzie was right behind me, and we went up the stairs with this tree singing, "Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, da, 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 da." I went in and I took my tree and I chucked it outside along with the mop pail. And this new tree was placed where we always had our Christmas tree. And everybody started to sing Silent Night, which is our favourite carol. And it was just absolutely wonderful. But the box hadn't been opened yet. And the box was sitting on the table. And when the box was opened, there was a pineapple in there, a real pineapple. We had never seen a pineapple. We were agog. It took pride of place on the dining table on Christmas Day. But the other thing was, it was quite strange, really, because nobody thought to ask my dad where the Christmas tree had come from until I suddenly said, "Daddy, where did you get this tree with all these decorations on it?" He had gone into the greengrocers at the bottom of our street. There was no supermarkets back then. And he said to the man who owned the greengrocers, Sammy Devine, "Have you got a tree in here, Sammy?" He says, "Aye, Tommy, that I have." "And have you got another tree at home?" And he said, "Aye, I have." He says, "Well, can I buy this one off you then for the wains, because we've not got one yet?" "Oh, you take it, Tommy, take it with my blessing," he said, "and I won't have to think about how I'm going to get rid of it after Christmas. And here's a wee box of some things for you as well, for the kids." Well, that's where the tree came from, and that's where the box came from. When we sat down for Christmas dinner the next day, and we were all waiting patiently for this pineapple to be cut open so we could all have some. And my mother told this story for years and years about how, when we all said about the Christmas tree, and my mum said, "So you'd be quite happy now that you've got the Christmas tree." And I said, "Having that Christmas tree doesn't feel as good as that pineapple tastes." So
That's a sweet story. Ah, and the pictures it made in my head. Ah, oh,
thank you,
what a
Bobby.
wonderful present.
Yes. So there are lots of stories like that, but I'd like to tell you a story that I wrote for one of my kids when they were young. And it's another Christmas story. And it's about a little girl. And well, I need to answer this. I'm so sorry. She's not going to give up. She probably thinks there's something wrong. Hi, Ali. I'm really sorry. I've been on a Zoom. I'm on the Zoom for the children's stories in Marrakesh.
Tell her we all say hi.
Okay, I'll ring you back. Everybody's saying hi. I'm really sorry. Okay, I'll phone you as soon as it's finished. Okay, love you. Bye.
Hey,
I'm
Rona,
afraid I've reached that age where people think if they don't hear from me for 5 hours, I must be dead. So
Rona,
why
it is
enter
a
panic?
blessing that she's calling you. We
It
have a
is,
cousin.
it is.
We have a cousin that we're trying to contact because she's the last person in her branch of the family. And she's angry with everybody.
Oh
So
gosh,
the fact that you have people calling you is a blessing.
yeah.
So I won't speak for everybody else, but I am not at all offending. I think it's a blessing that you have someone calling you.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do now is what I should have done before is switch my phone off. And then that'll really phone them into a panic. But at least I'll get this done. Okay. So, and now I'm going to change the story that I was going to tell you. This is a story about my younger married life. My husband and I had a toy shop in the main street in our town. I was born in Glasgow, but I didn't live there when I was first married. I moved out to a town called Springburn, and we had a little toy shop there. My husband was a policeman. This was just something that I did for a bit of extra money, but also for a hobby because I loved children's toys, and I still do. And unfortunately, we were going to have to close the shop because the man who owned the building, not the business, I owned the business, but I didn't own the building. He wanted to take that property back, so he tripled the rent, and I had to give it up, which was quite sad. And on the run up to Christmas, we just started to sell everything off a lot cheaper just to get the shop emptied for this man. And about 3 days before Christmas, a man burst into the shop. Oh, please, please, please tell me you've got one. I said, I'll tell you. If you tell me what it is, I can tell you if I've got one. A Tiny Tears doll. I must have a Tiny Tears doll. Well, Tiny Tears was the big toy that year for every little girl wanted one, because with this dolly, you could give her a drink from her bottle and she would wet her diaper. Her nappy, we call it, but you would say diaper. And she was the favourite toy for at least 5 years, which was quite unusual. But this was the first year that this toy, every little girl had to have one, and he had searched high and low. Now, I had a Tiny Tears in the back shop. Very fortunately, I mean, everything happens for a reason. My sister phoned me to tell me that she had got one for my daughter, because I foolishly sold out without keeping one for my own little girl. But she didn't want that. She changed her mind at the last minute. She wanted a scooter. She always liked to move fast. That's the one who's just been on the phone. So, and she wanted a scooter. And then all of a sudden, you know, children do this, 2 days before Christmas. Oh, I must ask Santa if I can have. No, no, please don't. Where am I going to find what you want? Anyway, this Tiny Tears doll was in my back shop, and I said to him, "You're very lucky I've got one," because my husband had also managed to track one down for my daughter in one of the big department stores. So I brought this box out and I showed him, and the little girl had made a choice. This doll it came in 3 varieties, if you like. One had pale skin with blonde hair and blue eyes. One had kind of olive skin with brown hair and brown eyes, and one had brown skin with black hair and brown eyes. They were beautiful dolls. And he said, my daughter wants the one with blonde hair and blue eyes because that's what she's got. Now, the thing about the box that this doll came in, it was quite unusual because the boxes were the same depth. So it was one of them, when you put the box, you put the lid over it and it covered it completely. And when I lifted the lid back off, it made a sound. And the man went, oh. He said, that's an unusual box. And the top, you could see through it. It was perspex, and that allowed you to see if the doll was a blonde-haired doll or a dark-haired doll. And it was the blonde-haired doll. He was over the moon. He paid me for it, and I wrapped it up for him. One piece of paper was green metal metallic paper with red Christmas trees, and the other one was red metallic paper with green Christmas trees. I know, in my heart of hearts, I know that I put the red paper on the box first and then the green paper on top and put a big red bow to match the red trees. And I went to give it to him and he said, no, he said, can I leave it here? I'll come and pick it up on Christmas Eve. I don't want her to find it. She'll go searching. Paid for the doll. I paid Mr. Doyle, that was his name, collecting on Christmas Eve. And I took the box back and I put it up on the shelf. Well, next 2 days passed without any event, and then it was Christmas Eve and I was closing the shop for good, forever. But by 5 o'clock on Christmas Eve, this man hadn't come to pick up this doll. And I was getting quite anxious. I said, oh dear. And my husband came down to take the last few bags to the rubbish and things, or to take the rest of the toys that were there. It wasn't much, just crayons and, you know, drawing books and things. And he was taking them down to the children's hospital. And he said, come on then, let's go. I said, well, actually, I'm going to wait a wee while. I'm a bit worried because Mr. Doyle hasn't come to pick up the doll for his daughter. Well, okay, I'll pick you up on the way back. Now, we lived in the same street as the shop. It was High Street. We lived at number 14 and the shop was at number 62. Now, I'm supposed to be quite a bright person. It didn't occur to me to put a note on the door of the shop and say, Mr. Doyle, come and collect your parcel at number 14, the High Street. No, I hung about the shop for another hour. And now it was coming on to 6:15 and my husband came back. He said, come on, let's go. We've got things to do as well. I said, can I just wait another wee half hour? I said, oh, for goodness sake. He knew that he was not going to get me out of there while that doll was still there. I said, imagine how that wee child would feel. Imagine if it was one of our daughters and her, you know, much wanted toy didn't arrive on Christmas morning. He says, you'd bring tears to the eyes of a tatty, you would. He said, right, I'm off. I'll come back in a half an hour. I said, you don't need to come back. I'll just walk along the road myself. So I waited another half an hour. Oh, you have no idea what it took for me to leave that shop and lock that door. I didn't want to do it. But like I say, a brighter, wiser person would have left a note. No, my head was, it was called Christmas fog. My head was full of Christmas, you know, this to do, that to do, this to buy, this to give. And I never even gave that a thought. I went home. At 8:30 that night, I said, I think I'll take the dog for a walk. I have to tell you, you would have laughed your socks off if you had seen the dog's reaction. I never took him for a walk. It was always my husband. But he looked up like that. Mummy's taking me for a walk. Oh, that's different. So I put the dog's lead on and I walked him up to the shop. And of course, there's nobody there. Why would there be? And I hung around for about 10 minutes, still didn't think to put a note on the door. Came back. And my husband said, are you going to relax? You know, there's nothing you can do about it. If the man doesn't come, he doesn't come. My husband had a very high IQ. He didn't think to say, put a note on the door and tell him to come and pick it up. So the doll was there, Mr. Doyle was wherever, and we were back home. I took that dog for a walk another 3 times that night. The poor thing was completely confused. He kept looking at me as if to say, where are we going? Are you taking me somewhere? I want to go home. You know, it was so funny. And then I just could not sleep. That whole night, I tossed and I turned. And I went along to the shop at 7:30 in the morning. And my husband was getting annoyed by this time. He said, what are you doing? I said, don't worry. I says, we cooked the turkey last night. Everything's all prepared for the dinner. I says, I'm just going to go along in case something has held that man up yesterday and he comes this morning. Stranger things have happened. And I went along and there was no sign of anybody and I went back home. And at 9 o'clock, I said, come on, Bruno, let's go for a walk. And my husband's like, oh, not again. And Bruno's like, not again. I went along, and when I got to the shop, there was 2 black bags in the little foyer. I thought, where did they come from? I never left them there. And as I got closer, one of those black bags stood up and a head popped out of the top of it. There were 2 little boys sat there. The oldest one I discovered was called Joseph, and he was 9 years old. And the little boy was called Sammy, and he was 3 years old. And when I saw that wee Sammy's face, I thought, oh, because he had 2 tear marks. He had a wee dirty face and he had 2 clean lines down his face where he'd been crying. And Joseph said to me, my daddy told me to come and give you this. And he had 3 paper pound notes, the old currency, in his hand. That's what it was at that time. My daddy said to give you this and get a present for Sammy because Santa didn't bring him anything. I said, oh no. Oh, poor wee mate. I said, I haven't got anything, sweetheart. I says, can you see the shop's empty now? He says, I know, I saw that. He says, but then I noticed there's a parcel on the shelf. Oh, I said, yes, but that parcel belongs to somebody. Who does it belong to? I said, well, there's a man who's already bought and paid for that, and he might come back for it. And he said, he might not. And my wee brother hasn't had a present. Oh, I said, well, I'll tell you what, sweetheart. This isn't even a present for a little boy, it's for a little girl. So he wouldn't really want that. He says, is it a doll? I said, yes. He says, well, it can be his new best friend and he can tell it all his worries. This boy was 9 years old, going on for 90. There was nothing I could do but bring that box down and put it on the counter. And he helped his wee brother up to rip the paper off. The first thing I noticed was, hold on a minute, that's not the paper that I put on that. And there was no sign of where I had written in a red pen, Mr. Doyle paid for collecting on Christmas Eve. It was on a little sticker. The sticker was gone. He tore open that paper. And then he helped his wee brother to take the lid off the box. He put his hand over his, and the 2 of them lifted it, and it went, and Sammy let out a squeal. And I thought, whoa, hold on a minute, what's this? There was no doll's face to be seen. There was shredded newspaper. And I'm like, what? And all 3 of us clawed away at this shredded newspaper. And in that box was the tiniest pair of roller skates you've ever seen. And Joseph looked at me and he said, you've got them. I said, what do you mean? He says, that's what he asked Santa for. Sammy asked Santa for roller skates. I said, I don't know. Well, he looked at me as if I was the devil incarnate. You had them. I said, there was a doll in that box, I told you. He said, yeah, right. That's a Scottish way of saying I don't believe a word you've said. Yeah, right. I could not convince this boy that there had been a doll in that box. He was having none of it. At this point, Sammy's on the floor with the roller skates, and he took off his Wellingtons and he had no socks on. I said, sweetheart, you can't put these boots on your bare feet because they were steel on the, with the leather strap over the top. So I took my boots off and I took my socks off and I put them on him, and they came away up past his knees, and then we put the skates on him. Joseph took one finger and I took the other, and we let him skate up and down the shop a few times. He was squealing with delight, but every now and again, Joseph looked at me as if to say, yeah, how did that happen? It was pointless me trying to convince him. I gave him the £3 notes back again. Not that I was ever going to keep them. I said, I want you to give them back and your daddy can, you know, get something for maybe some sweeties for you and your wee brother. He said, no, I'll buy us some dinner. I said, oh, well, that's good. And then I let him keep my socks and he pulled his wellies on and I pulled my boots back on and we put the skates back in the box and Joseph tucked it under his arm and he took his wee brother's hand and he walked out the door. And I watched him walk about 20 yards and Joseph looked back at me and he still had that look on his face. And I called him, Joseph, I said, hold on a minute. And I walked up to him and I said, do you know what just happened there? He said, yes. You had my wee brother's skates. I said, no, darling. I says, what you've just witnessed is a Christmas miracle. I says, somewhere in this town today, there's a little girl. Her name is Miss Doyle. And she wanted Santa to bring her that doll that was still in my shop. I says, where do you think that doll is now? And he looked at me and he said, I don't know. I said, yes, you do. I says, there's a tree in that little girl's house and there was a box under that tree that looked like the box for the doll. And inside there was paper shredded. And when she pulled that paper, the box said roller skates, size 1. And she looked up at her mummy and she said, I've got roller skates. And her mummy said, oh, well, we'll go to the park this afternoon and you can try them. She says, but I wanted, and at the same time as she was saying I wanted, she pulled the lid off the box and it went, and she went, oh. And then when she moved that last bit of shredded paper, she saw a tiny tears with blonde hair and blue eyes. You know, Christmas miracles do happen. I've just told you about one.
Oh, my goodness. Rona, have you told us this before?
A long time ago.
Okay, but you know what? A good story is like a good meal, is worth repeating, is worth telling and having again. I was just as enthralled. I'm sitting here reliving my early Christmases. So, oh wow. Oh, I think I feel hair growing up here again.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'll tell you another little one now. We've got time for another little one. And this again was when I was very young. And, you know, we always had a dog because my dad had a guide dog and we had Paddy, a black Labrador. And he was a wonderful dog. But on occasion, he would be naughty. Sometimes he would chew something that he shouldn't have chewed. And we used to play this game on Christmas Eve where we all had to take something out of a bag that my mother had put all these things in. And whatever it was, you had to tell a story about this. And and whatever you took out, you got to keep because they would be later hung on the tree. So it was not unusual for something very strange to be on our Christmas tree. That happened quite often. But on this occasion, out of the bag, I took a little gingerbread man. Oh, do you know what the little gingerbread man's like? He's made of gingerbread and he's got quite a cheeky little face and he had on tartan trousers and a tartan shirt and he had a big smile on his face. This was my gingerbread man. So I had to tell a story about him. And I told a story about how the gingerbread man saved the little princess who had fallen into a puddle and couldn't swim. And the little gingerbread man went in and saved her Now, I was only about 6 years old when I told that story. I just made it up in my head as it went along. And I got a clap from the family. That was a great story, wee sister. Wonderful. Thank you very much. La-di-la-di-da. And I put my gingerbread man down beside me. And I never noticed Bruno sneaking up and pinching it. He took my gingerbread man. Ah, and when I found it about an hour later, it was all chewed. Oh, no. Oh, no, I was heartbroken. We didn't get very many precious gifts when we were little, and this was so precious. And it was all chewed, and its eyes were all chewed. In fact, its eyes weren't there anymore, and his grin had become a grimace. And I thought, oh, no. And my daddy said, you know, time's a good healer. What does that mean, Daddy? He said, well, you never know. When you put that gingerbread man on the tree, I can't put him on the tree. He's all broken and chewed and horrible, and he's got no proper face now. My daddy said, of course you can put him on the tree. You wouldn't abandon him, would you? Just because he's not got a proper face anymore. No, Daddy, I'll put him on the tree. And I put him on the tree. And we sang and we played and we all did our little party piece. And then it was time for bed. Only after we had been to midnight mass, of course. And the walk home from midnight mass, we sang carols all the way. And I walked upstairs and literally fell into my bed exhausted. And the next morning, when I went through for my breakfast, porridge, of course, that my mummy cooked every single day, even on Christmas morning, I glanced at the tree, and my gingerbread man was there. And he looked exactly like he did when I took him out of the bag. He had his eyes back, his face was all right, his tartan shirt wasn't torn anymore. Daddy, Daddy, I've got my gingerbread man back, look. And my dad took it and he put his hands all over him. He said, oh yeah, he's got his eyes back, oh yeah. And he's got his, and that little bit that was missing off his chin, that's back. That little bit that was missing off his chin. How did my daddy know there was a little bit missing off his chin? I never told him that. How did my daddy make that gingerbread man better? I've got no idea. Maybe it wasn't my daddy. Maybe it was the Blue Fairy. Maybe it was Tinkerbell. I've no idea. All I know is I've still got that gingerbread man to this day. He's a little bit of brown plastic in the shape of a biscuit, a gingerbread biscuit, and the only thing that's missing from his now, he's only got one little blue eye. Somewhere along the way, in a journey of 70 years or whatever, he's lasted all this time, except he's lost one little eye. So that's my little gingerbread story. And you know what? I would love to have got him now to show you him, but he's on a box away up at the top of my cupboard. And if I dared to get on the ladders and climbed up there, my son would go ballistic because I don't do climbing up ladders anymore. So, but that's my little gingerbread man. One last little 5-minute tale I'm going to tell you. You might have heard this before. This is about Luigi. Luigi was a very naughty boy. Oh, goodness me. He was a really naughty boy. He was always up to mischief, but he was very lovable and everybody liked him. And he was asking the baby Jesus to bring him a present on Christmas Eve. Not Santa Claus, but the baby Jesus. His mum said, baby Jesus will not bring a present to a naughty boy. You'll have to tell him you're going to be very good. Okay, you have to be a good boy and say your prayers and bless everybody and be thankful for everything you've got and say that you're going to be a good boy. And he's thinking, all of that? Wow, okay. So he sat down and his mum said, write a note to baby Jesus and tell him that you're going to be good. So he sat down and he wrote, dear baby Jesus, please give it to me a BMX bike for my Christmas. I will be a good boy for 1 whole week. I love you, love Luigi. And his mum saw the letter and she said, well, that's quite good, but a week's not very long. I think you'd have to do a bit more than that to get a new BMX bike. And his mum had told him he had to tidy his room as well. So he tidied his room and he cleaned it all up. And there was a statue of Our Lady, the mother of baby Jesus, as Christians are taught. And he dusted that statue and put it back. And then he sat down and he wrote, dear baby Jesus, please give it to me a BMX bike for my Christmas. I will be a good boy for 1 whole week and a day. I have dusted your mummy and put her back on the shelf. I love you, love Luigi. And when his mother saw this, she said, 1 day more. No, that won't do. You're being silly now. Write a proper note. Tell Jesus, baby Jesus, you're going to be a good boy for a whole month and you would like a BMX bike for your Christmas. A month. A whole month. Oh, no way, Jose. Oh, and he looked at the statue and he thought, typical Italians, yeah. Dear baby Jesus, aspetta un momento. He got that baby Jesus's mummy and he wrapped her in a blanket and he put her under his bed. And then he started to write again. Dear baby Jesus, if you want to see your mama again, you bring me a BMX bike for my Christmas. Love, Luigi. That's just a silly wee Christmas joke. Thanks, guys. I like that. Hi, Despina. Lovely to see you.
Thank you so much, dear Rona Barbour, for your wonderful stories. We really enjoy the stories and we chill and we enjoy the stories. We're very calm and they are very wonderful stories. Thank you so much for your stories and thank you so much for everybody for being here today. And before we leave you, we have next Tuesday, we have stories for peace to help children in Gaza with Mr. David Hitfeld. So be in time, inshallah, next Tuesday to give this next Tuesday, inshallah.
I'll see you then as well, because I've had a message from David asking if I'll come and tell a story on that. I'm sure you have as well. Just there'll be all of us on there. But I'm more looking forward than anything to coming to Marrakesh in January again. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be so nice. Yes, I'll
I
kill it.
cannot wait.
Yes, yes, yes. Omar, thank you for flying the magic carpet today. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. And I want to wish everyone a happy Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa starts the day after Christmas. It lasts for 7 days. It goes into January 1st. In my background, you see my Kwanzaa candles burning. They are battery powered and I have them lit and I'm showing off. But happy Kwanzaa, happy Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, happy New Year's to everybody. May 2025 bring you all that you need, if not all that you want. And thank you, Rona, for taking me down memory lane.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lucy.
Hi,
Take care.
hi.
See you
Everybody,
all
thank you
in
so much.
Marrakesh in January, I hope.
Yes.
See you soon, Despina.
So
Maybe
much. See you in January. Yes.
See you in
Yes, see you
January.
in January, right? Hey,
Thank
Despina.
you, Rona. That
Despina.
was lovely.
No, I'm glad you
All
liked it.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't respond to you, Baba C, because I couldn't find the button that
That's
said
all right. Thank you.
unmute.
Thank you for wishing me happy Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've already started doing Kwanzaa programs and it was great. So
Fantastic. I don't
yes.
know about Kwanzaa. That sounds
Well,
fascinating.
I will post something. I
Yeah.
was hoping to coordinate with John about doing a Kwanzaa special. That
Yeah.
might still happen. We'll see. In the meantime, happy Kwanzaa, happy holiday,
Yeah.
happy youth. Talk to you soon. Thank you,
See
Rona.
you.
You're so special, Rona. I just love listening to you tell stories.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
And I'll tell you one when I get to, I'm going to make up a story just for you, Baba C, which I'll tell you in the,
Oh.
All right. All right. And I'm
Oh.
going to share a Kwanzaa story with you, even though Kwanzaa will be over. Kwanzaa's 7-day celebration, but we live the principles all year long.
of course,
Mhm.
yes, yes.
All right.
It's nice to think about that.
Brilliant.
Take
Thank
care,
you all.
everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Omar.
Bye.
Bye,
To be
everybody.
continued.
Thank you. I
Thank
love
you
the
for
stories,
this.
Rona. They were
Thank you, Norman.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Norman,
Bye,
we'll talk.
Norman.
Okay, then. Take care. Safe journey to everyone, whatever way you are traveling.
All right.
Okay. Lots
Take
of
care,
love.
everybody. Be
Bye.
good. And if you can't be good, make sure the cameras are off.
That's what my mother said too. If you can't be good, be careful.
Oh, yes.
That's a good one.
My big brother used to say, if you can't be good, don't give your own name.
Yeah, my baby brother used to go around doing things and giving out my name.
Do you know that Michael's my wee baby brother?
No, my baby brother used to give out my name. He would do things playfully obnoxious and then say my name. He said, "Oh yeah, my name is," and then he'd give out my name.
Mm,
My sister
smart.
Lizzie,
Smart brother.
that I mentioned to you, she's a great storyteller, but my little brother's also a storyteller, and he was in
Oh.
Marrakesh last year.
All
Oh,
right.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You will know him. Everybody knows him. Sometimes I don't bother telling people that he's my wee brother. Espina knows him. You know why I don't tell everybody he's my wee brother. No, he's wonderful. Michael, he was on here a few weeks ago.
Not Michael Cairns.
Yes, that's the one.
He's your brother.
Oh,
The baby brother.
Oh, wow.
oh,
Oh,
the story doesn't fall far from the teller.
amazing.
He
All
comes from
right.
a
Brilliant.
storytelling family, a long line of storytellers.
Yeah.
Players, if you like.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yes.
So I'll see you all
All
soon.
right, good
Yes.
folk. I think they're
All
gonna cut
right.
us off at any
Take
moment.
care.
Look forward to it.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care.
See
To
you
be
soon, Despina.
continued. Until the next
Take care,
time.
love. You're looking great, Despina. Bye bye. Bye, Baba C. Happy holiday.
Thank you. Happy holiday. Until the next time. To be continued and all that kind of good stuff. See you in Marrakesh.
Yes. Ciao, ciao. Ci vediamo dopo.
Tutanana Bakahanana. Until the next time.